Hello, internet friends near and far. Welcome to another episode of Parks and Conversation. And this is a podcast where we watch an episode of the classic NBC sitcom Parks and Recreation, and then we converse about it. And the people conversing are myself. My name is Jason, and I'm joined all the way across town by the power of the internet by my friend Jeremy. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going?
It is going well. School is out. The sun is out. It's a beautiful time
And we're
in the Pacific Northwest.
And we're inside.
Which is exactly where I want to be most of the time anyway. I just want to look at nice weather.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really all that, that's why we live here. So let it rain, do all the things, but then eventually it's going to get hot. So we have to go down to our sub basements to stay cool and then, come back out when it rains again. It's kind of a reverse hibernation.
It's a hot one. That's right. Yeah.
So, how are you today, Jeremy?
I'm good. I am excited to get back to podcastery and go over today's episode, The Bailout, or just The Bailout, as it were.
As it were, as it is, as it ever shall be. And we should tell people, listener, we thank you for your patience with us. It is summertime and things are crazy and there's travel, there's being out of town. So we're going to record as frequently as we can over the next couple months, but we might miss a couple weeks and we're not quitting. And we just ask that you don't quit either. Sound good, listener? Thanks.
Or thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop.
Don't stop believing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, can't stop. Bigger, stronger, faster.
Daft Punk.
Yeah. Somebody
Don't worry about that.
We went to a concert at El Corazon. It was just two people playing keyboards. I was like, was it Daft Punk? El Corazon is a small little club in Seattle, and Daft Punk would probably not play there, but they didn't get it. So, Jeremy, this episode that we are looking at, the bailout,
Mm-hmm.
it is it's kind of a satirical statement against government intervention, pro and con, in helping small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, let's get into market realities and economic policy. And I think the best way to do that is to give us an example of a video store that's closing, that then turns into a porn shop. Because that's the plot of this
that's
episode.
It's the only example that we could come up with.
That's the only
based
one.
On this episode. Right. Yeah.
I do love, though, that this episode, and we'll get into the details, though, it takes a super rare business in the world anymore, which is the rental store. And that is the thing that Leslie is going to campaign on, is like, no, this needs to be saved. And it's like, no one said this about Blockbuster. Like, I miss Blockbuster so much. I loved going on Fridays and walking around, looking at all the movies I could rent, and then just going and looking at the dollar bin of movies I can buy.
Right. And you're just like, how many hundreds of people have watched this particular disc before I buy it for $1.99?
Yeah. I was like, it had a good long run. And my first copy of Royal Tenenbaums, I purchased from Blockbuster, the DVD, that I purchased it from Blockbuster in the dollar bin. And I had no idea what it was. I just knew that I really liked Bill Murray. That was my first Wes Anderson movie ever. And I was like, oh, Bill Murray's in this. I love Bill Murray. And Danny Glover. Oh, yeah, I like Danny Glover too. Gene Hackman. What the heck? All these people are in this movie. So cool. So I took it home.
Tracksuits.
Yeah. Ben Stiller. I mean, this movie is full.
Owen
and Luke Wilson and Gwyneth Paltrow. This movie is
pre-goop.
It's just chock full of like massive talent. And it was $1. And it's like, I got to buy this. I don't even know what it's about.
And you're probably only the second person to watch that copy.
Yeah, probably from a Blockbuster. Because, Blockbuster wasn't known for its artism. So yeah, but I do miss those chance encounters with a movie that you've never heard of. You went to go rent Transformers. Instead, you got Transmogrifiers because that was the one that was there. Like those kinds of things are so awesome. And
they got me again.
Shia LaBeouf's not in this. Instead, it's Shia LaBeouf. What?
Directed by Michelle Day.
Yeah, it's so you never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it's garbage. And so
and the clerk and the person checking the movies out, and they get to judge you, which you got to go through that little gauntlet of shame. Yeah. But then once you get to know them or whatever, you can say, hey, what other recommendations do you have? And that was a great way to hear about movies as well that you never try. Like if you like Transmorphers, you'll love Velocipaster, like
oh my
it's
gosh,
things like
I
that.
need to see Velocipaster. I have heard of this movie and I need to watch it. All right, I'm going on a trip. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to see if I can find a way to, as Joe Mandy says, all movies are online for free. I'm going to see if I can find that.
Yes. Thank you, Morris. I know that was the best part too. It's like out of all of this entire thing, there is that one small voice of reason that the government's trying to shut down. It's like, no, you guys, you're missing the even bigger picture here. Yeah. There's a store. Right, there's a strip mall that we frequent. There's a little game store, and next to it is a small market, and there's a Greek restaurant inside. And it used to be half of the old Blockbuster. And you go in, and it's a convenience store with a Greek restaurant, fantastic gyros. And up above, though, they never took out. Remember, like the drop ceiling, and there'd be another, like, I don't know. It was like a mural kind of all of the movies, Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind, and all that. Yeah, it's still up there. So as you're eating, it's like just the nostalgia of I used to come to this place before it had, gyros and other Greek foods and rent movies here, and now
that's so
funny.
I don't.
And
I've been in there. It's amazing. I've never thought to look up.
Gotta look up. You never know when you're going to see a Blockbuster callback.
Oh my word. Yeah. So but before we started recording, this episode made me sad. I told you, Jeremy, this makes me sad because there are things like the like Blockbuster that are a randomization of life where we might have a goal when we enter into a place like Blockbuster, but we don't always get to rent the thing that we came for. So we have to, you don't want to go home empty-handed and spend a Friday night just staring at nothing. You want to stare at a movie. So,
I paid for the Blockbuster pass. I got to have something.
Yeah. And so, so it made me a little sad to think like my kids are never really going to have that experience. Like they can get whatever they want when they want it. And I don't know if we're better for it.
We sound like old men. Like we had to work for our movies.
We had to work to sit around. So
you had to go around the outside of just to see what was new, the outside wall.
Yeah.
You had to start and go all the way around. And then if you were, heaven forbid you go into the middle, because those are the older movies. That's when you're really looking for something specific.
Right. And it's almost never there. But if you want to watch Private Eyes a bunch of times, it's always there. It's always there. I did. So yeah, I rented my parents rented and I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first movie. One weekend. I think I watched it 8 times.
Oh man,
on VHS. So that's watching it and rewinding it. That's the commitment to the Ninja Turtles, and it's
right. That's the other thing that kids will never have to. There's still work. Like, you done with the movie? No, you're not. You got to rewind it.
You got to rewind this. What are you not kind? No, I want to be kind. Well, then do what the sticker tells you. Rewind that thing. And the world, man, it's so different. And now, like, if you start a movie and you get bored, you just walk away and you come back and go to your streaming service and hit play, and it picks up right where you left off. And like
on a different device.
Yeah, I did that.
You don't even have to be in the same room. Yeah,
I was watching the new Star Trek on my iPad, and then before we record, I fell asleep last night, and so I didn't finish it. And so before we jumped on this morning, I was like, "All right, I'm gonna pick up where I left off," and it was awesome. Excellent episode. And I was like, but I was on my TV downstairs. Like, this is amazing. I don't have to carry a rectangle holding tape with images on it. I can just go. And so there's all these awesome things, but at the same time, we're very spoiled. So
it's true. Yeah. You don't have to avoid magnets. It's great.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. Like, I would go to the Blockbuster downtown Kirkland. I'd rent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, take the bus back home, and it was like, oh man, better hope nobody has an electromagnet on this bus, because
exactly.
I don't know if I have $48 to replace this VHS.
The struggle was real.
Yeah, I don't even know why they were so expensive. Like,
because they could.
Yeah, they could. It's like, hey, you could go to the movie and watch this as a matinee for $3, or you could buy it on a rectangle with tape for $48. So anyway, let's talk about some of the things that happened in this podcast, in this episode.
Oh, okay.
Because there's three main stories, right? We've got the Leslie in the Video Dome. We've got Tom and his business, but then also Chris is trying to figure out if he wants to be a parent, and so he's going to try to parent Tom. And then we have April and Anne, and their friendship that really goes through the tests. So
where do you want to start?
Well, I think if we start with the cold open with Tom and his story, and then we'll get with Chris and all that stuff as we walk through that. But then we will also, and then go to Anne and April, and then we'll do the Video Dome, and it all ends into the credits scene. All three stories converge at the same place. So,
excellent.
Yeah, I think that'll work. So, this is an episode where we get to meet somebody who will change our lives forever. So Tom, he is hosting his investors at Rent-A-Swag. It's going great. He's giving an overview of what's happening, and it's going good. And but then we meet a character named Mona Lisa Saperstein, who we come to find out is Jean-Ralpho Saperstein's sister. Not just sister.
Sounded familiar.
Sister.
Yeah.
They're twins, and they are both awful people.
Almost the worst, you could say.
Yeah. Well, or the worst. And because Jean-Ralphio shows up. And one of the things I love about the way Jean-Ralphio keeps showing up in this episode is he like comes from under the frame and like rises up.
He appears.
He appears like the Greek chorus from ancient plays. Like he rises from the ground, and so it is a pretty amazing decision to make about Jean-Ralphio, because sometimes he comes jumping in from the side, right? And this one he just comes up in between people, and Mona Lisa is like the first thing she says is as she meets Ron and Chris and Ben is would hit it, and then Jerry hard pass. So she's terrible. And then Jean-Ralphio shows up and points out that Mona Lisa's the worst. She's terrible, huge skank. But he's appreciative of Tom for hiring his sister, because means a lot. And Tom's response has got to keep it in the family. And Ben just says, but does it have to be this family? And we soon realize how awful Mona Lisa is, because she is like, it's like, I got tickets to a concert, and she looks at her brother and like scowls at him, and like, which is like, whoa, intense moment. And it's like, and I already committed to that. So if you say I can't, then it's like you're taken away for something, and I'm upset by that. And I'll start a fire in the bathroom. And so,
and I love the fact that she got the tickets from her shrink,
right?
Because but not just like he gave it to her. It's my shrink got me and him tickets. So she's going to a Pitbull concert with her shrink.
Right. She's a mess. Yeah. So, but so Tom is threatened. Essentially, he's like, "All right, I guess you can go." And Jean-Ralpho again, sings out that she's the worst, and then he introduces himself to Chris again. They've met multiple times. Jean-Ralpho, how are you? So, and then as we come back to the shop, and Chris and Ben are talking, and Chris is watching all these families with all their kids, and guiding. He's like just amazed at the process of parenting. And you and I are both parents, and there are definite moments where you're like, wow, I am stewarding a life here. I am pointing them in the right direction. I'm helping them to understand what good music is and what it is not. Pitbull is not. And so yeah, so he's having these moments, and so Ben's like, well, where are you on your dadcision, as he calls it, which was almost what I was going to call the episode of the title for this episode, but it was a little too close to circumcision in my brain, and so I don't want to do that. So,
okay, I don't think I ever would have gotten there, but hey,
anytime I see the word cision. So yeah, cision is just one of those things that's just like, there's that just one word that always rhymes with that. Cision. Circumcision.
Decision. Incision. Supervision.
Vision doesn't rhyme with cision.
Sure. It depends upon
the whole thing, the cision part. So
okay. All right. Fine.
Yeah. But that's just how my brain works. And so, yeah. So Chris is, he has a talking head, like explaining, like, I'm honored that she wants to do this, but I have paralyzing fear of negatively affecting any living thing. So, that's the hard thing. He wants to just be a positive force in the world. Mm-hmm. And parenting, you don't always feel that way. And so it cuts back, and Tom's like, Mona Lisa's stealing from me, and Jean-Ralpho is like, absolutely, she's a klepto, a nympho, and a pyro, all those things. So
all the O's.
You gotta fire her. And Tom's like, I can't. I need somebody for this party I'm throwing for all my clients. And so he feels trapped. And this is where Ben is like, hey, Chris, you know what? When I was in high school, we had to carry around a sack of flour, pretend I was a kid. Did you ever have to do that when you were in high school? I mean, it wasn't a requirement for everybody, but there were people in my high school who did that. And I didn't know what class they were in. Like, I'm not in that class. Like, I don't. What did you sign up for? Like, what
transportation?
Like, once transportation. Once I had a kid, and I would reflect back on the things that, like, this would have prepared me well. And carrying a sack of flour, I don't know how that actually prepares anybody to deal with a child, because a child moves.
Yeah, you can't make a loaf of bread out of a child.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't, yeah.
And yeah,
rule number one that they give you on when you leave the hospital with a new baby: do not make bread out of this.
Oh my word, that's terrible. That's a terrible thing to say out loud. Even to think that people need to be told that. But
you're having you carry around a sack of flour. It it's not a large leap to get there.
No. Yeah. So Chris is recommending, or Ben is recommending to Chris, like, hey, treat Tom like your sack of flour. Try to parent him a little. and Chris is on board. And then Jean-Ralphio appears again and said, I heard Sack of Flour in high school. Are you ding dongs making fake drugs for sophomores? Because if true, this guy wants in.
And again, doesn't he just like appear?
Yes, he just appears,
and there he is
from underneath. It's amazing. So it cuts to Chris and Tom in Chris's office, and Chris is sitting right next to Tom, like on the couch,
on like a 5-person couch. Like,
yeah. And Tom,
so again, it's like the bathroom situation. Like, I know for our female listeners, maybe that doesn't apply, but there's 6 urinals. You leave space. You don't need to stand right next to the one person when there's only one person in the bathroom.
Right.
It's weird.
Yes.
Stop it. Don't do that.
Even if you're friends, even if you started a conversation on the way into the bathroom,
right.
The rule is that's on pause until we're done in here. So
it's elevator rules, man. You gotta give them space and shut up.
And don't talk in here. This is a solemn moment that we're all participating in. And the people who you go to a movie theater or a stadium and there's a line for the urinal, and that's the worst because it's like you're gonna have to stand next to a stranger and pee because everybody's doing this. But the people who talk on the phone or talk to people across the bathroom or sing
are drunk and just want to start and they just start talking to you.
Yeah, it's we're not friends.
No, thank you.
I already have a friend.
You melt your ice, I'll melt mine. It's fine.
That is also one of the weirdest things. When you go into a urinal situation and there's ice in the urinal like that, I did not understand why that's in there, what's happening. And
speeds up the process.
It what?
It speeds up the process
of melting
the ice faster. Sure.
Who needs urine melted ice? That's the question.
What's the left? It's the old ice. It's the leftover ice.
Yeah. I think it's to keep odor down is my understanding. So, but who knows?
Wow.
Yeah. I looked up. It's one of those internet searches that's like, I really don't want the internet to know I looked this up.
I don't need this in my browser history.
I don't think there's going to be a problem later in my life. I don't think I'm going to run for president, but I don't want them to dig this up and be like, why were you looking up urinal ice?
Dibs on band name.
Yeah, all right, you can have it. So Chris is awkwardly close to Tom, and like I have something I need to talk to you about. And Tom's response is, "Do we need to sit like this?" And it pans out, and they're right on the couch, and there's 5 available seats. And he's like, "Yes, we do." And he points out Mona Lisa's taking advantage of him, and he should be firm with her. And he's like, "Well, I'm scared of her." Because I once saw her punch a police horse in the face. And so Chris's advice is just speak directly and say, I will not be disrespected. And so Tom takes this advice and like, all right, yeah, I'll talk to her before the party. And if she murders me, tell Jean-Ralphio to clear my browser history. So Chris is a little unsure about how that advice is going. But then as Tom's leaving, he's like, you're welcome. And then silently, son.
What's that?
Nothing.
All right.
So at Rent a Swag, a kid comes up to Mona Lisa and is like, how much is the rent? It's like, oh, that jacket's ugly. You should just take it. And so Tom, and she's just sitting on the couch, not really doing anything. And so Tom is trying to get her to do her job. And it's like, did you order champagne for the party? And her response is, did I order the what for the what? And so Tom's like, I need to talk to you about your work habits. And she's like, great, but I need to take a nap because ecstasy takes forever to leave my system. And so like, you got to stop being this way. You got to start respecting my authority around here. And he's like, or else I'll fire you. And Mona Lisa's like instantly turned on by Tom's firm, direct communication. And so then she starts making out with him, which Tom's response is, what are you doing? which is probably the accurate response that everybody should have in that moment. And so Chris follows up with him, and Chris says, how did it go with Mona Lisa? And he's like, well, I told her she needed to change her attitude or I was going to fire her. And Ben's like, oh, good job. Did she take it well? And Tom says, yeah. She got super turned on. We started making out hard. And then we went back to my place and we're together now. And she comes up and is like, I need to borrow money for something that's none of your beeswax. So I'm not going to finish the rest of what she says. Yeah, so she's terrible. And Ben and Chris are like, wow, Tom, this is not great. And Chris is reflecting on everything, and he's talking to Ben. He's like, I made everything worse. He would never be, if Tom were a sack of flour, he would never be a well-adjusted loaf of bread, much less a bran muffin, which is the highest honor that flour can achieve. And so Ben's like, are you going to say no to Anne? And Chris is thinking, like, I'm not really prepared to do this. And Jerry then comes and says, look, everybody makes mistakes. I mean, Lord knows I made plenty, but it's the small victories that keep you going. When you see your little one take her first step or graduate college, oh my God, it's all worth it. And another thing is if like and then your kids, because you're like, I don't know. And everyone's like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. No one ever lets me keep talking this long.
Somebody stop me.
And
I feel you. I feel you, Jerry. I feel you, man.
Oh yeah, that was one of those moments where I was like, Jeremy understands.
Yeah, man, I was doing so well until I kept going.
Yeah. And Chris is like, wow, that was very well said. Right up until that moment that you started babbling incoherently.
It was such a great joke too, because like it was such a nice moment for him. Like he was like, oh wow, Jerry, that's so deep, and it makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jerry is of all the people, he's the only person who has a long-term marriage and children that he has raised to become adults. Mm-hmm. Like he's the person that has the most experience, and these children that he's raised are amazing, right? They're responsible. They seem to have their life together. Like Jerry's got experience here, but he can't handle the long explanation of life. So, yeah. And so we'll pause there because we'll come back at the credit scene there. So that's the first arc. The next arc is we see Anne in her office calling Chris's office and leaving a message with his assistant. And is like, well, just tell him that I called. Just no, don't tell me, don't call, just pretend I never did. This never happened. This is Jerry Kerrigich calling. Bye. And April comes in and is like, I have a tell you secret. I want you to not tell anyone or I will kill you slowly with a giant syringe. And April tells Anne that she's applying to veterinary school in Bloomington, and Anne is excited for her. And her excitement then leads April to take out the giant syringe that she bought on the internet. And so she's like, I really need a letter of recommendation. And since you work in a hospital as a janitor, I was wondering if maybe you could write one for me. And points out that she's actually a nurse. And then a talking head, and it cuts to a talking head where she says, April has always had the upper hand in our relationship, but that hand is usually giving me the finger or pouring honey in my purse. But now I have the upper hand. I'm going to use it to crush her to be nice to me. So Anne's like, oh, all right, I'll write that letter. I actually know the guy over there. And April's like, because you hooked up. It's like, I don't hook up with everybody. But yeah, we did hook up. But she's like, you have to do a week with me doing everything I say. And she's like, so they're going to be forced friends. And April starts trying to stab herself with the giant syringe, and Anne tells her to stop doing that. So then cuts to a nail salon, and where they're getting they got manicures, and now they're getting like pedicures, and pointing out like the perfect human male body, Channing Tatum's body, Ryan Gosling's face, and Michael Fassbender's sense of humor. And the listener may understand. And so April's perfect guy is Yao Ming's torso, Napoleon's brain, and the Hunchback of Notre Dame's hunchback.
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Which would be like if you have Yao Ming's torso and the hunchback's hunchback. Is the hunchback in proportion to Yao Ming's torso? Or is it like the same size that it would be on the hunchback and just transplanted onto Yao Ming?
I would say hunchback size.
So it's not like a Yao Ming size hunchback?
No.
Okay, cool. And that's great. Thank you. Listener, if you have any questions,
does everybody know? Does everybody know who Yao Ming is?
Everybody? You mean me? I do.
Okay. I just meant like the listener, like Yao Ming.
Yeah, listener, let us know.
let us know. We're not going to tell you.
He's an NBA player from China. He's very tall, like 12 feet tall or something.
Something, yeah.
He's very tall. Is he still playing?
A lot of torso. No, he's done.
Okay,
playing. He didn't die. Yeah.
Well, that you know of. So Anne is, and April then says, "Do you like my nails?" And she holds up her 4 fingernails, and it says, spelled out, "Anne sucks." So, yeah. So
I love that too, because Anne is 3 letters, and so they actually have to start sucks on the first hand.
Right. So like, one hand reads Anne's.
Right. Hands sucks.
And then the next scene, they're at Tom's party, and Anne is trying to get April to choose which of the Sex in the City girls April is, and she says, "I don't, Miranda." It's like, "No, you're like a scary Charlotte," and I didn't understand any of that. I don't know. Like, I was like, I didn't watch that show, so that's lost on me. So, yeah, the Chris comes up at the party, and it's very awkward, and April points it out that this is weird. And she wants to know, why is it weird? And Chris wants to talk to Anne in private, and April is like, anything you can say in front of Anne, you can say to me, because we're best friends this week.
Oh, now it's to her benefit. So
yeah. And so Chris is like, all right, we'll just talk later. And April is like, why don't you want to talk now? So she's going to try to figure out why it's so weird between Anne and Chris. And so Anne is like, let's leave, back to forced friendship. Let's go put on our PJs and make White Russians. So that sounds terrible. And then they are back in the office, and they are going to sing a song. April has written out all of the lyrics to Time After Time on the whiteboard, and they're going to sing together. And so they start singing, but Anne starts singing, but April keeps saying, "Tell me about Chris." And Anne is singing all the while. And then finally she breaks down and tells her she wants to have a baby, and she asks Chris to donate his sperm. And it's taking a long time, and it's really freaking me out. Now I can't stop thinking about it. I'm obsessing about it. I don't want to think about anything else but that. And it's making me crazy. And then April starts singing, "Secrets stolen," and she just gets into the song, and is amazed. She's like, "You know this?" And it's like, "Of course, everybody knows. It's an amazing song." And then they start singing together, and then Donna comes in, and she starts singing, and it's a really beautiful moment. And April, they finish the song, and April's like, "This never happened," and runs out the door. It's a really great scene.
It is. There's some nice harmony.
Yeah, and there's really the only Donna moment in this whole. Donna in the beginning, and then Donna later, but that's really it for Donna in this episode. So
yeah.
So that's that story will resolve in the next in the credit scene. So let's take a break here, because listener, we have an email from a new emailer, and if you want to send us an email, listener, you can send that to parksandconversation@gmail.com. parksandconversation@gmail.com. That's spelled PARKSANDCONVERSATION @gmail.com. Did you get that? You want me to do it again?
Was that Gmail?
Yep, gmail.com. And so this is from Erin, and her subject line is, "You've accidentally served me the food my food eats." And she wrote in to, first of all, I got to take some umbrage with her tone in the beginning. "I love your show, and I'm happy whenever I see you finally uploaded new episodes." What? You finally uploaded new episodes. And finally. So she has a response. She wants to share her wedding story. Because this is in response to Leslie and Ben's wedding. And so her and her husband never really cared about getting married, and we're happy just sharing, she says, sharing our lives together. Then I got a job that offered insurance. What better reason to legally tie yourself to another person than for insurance benefits? So
smart.
After 6 years,
real smart.
Yeah. 6 years of dating, 5 years of living together, we decided to tie the knot. Neither of us are much for ceremony or tradition, so we got married on our screened-in back porch with a justice of the peace picked randomly from a list given to us by the court clerk. My now father-in-law was our only guest. Then we went out for tacos. The whole thing cost less than $250 and was totally stress-free, which is awesome. And then she says,
"I hope the tacos were good."
I'm thinking about tacos today.
Yeah.
Because tacos are awesome, and I'm on a mission to find the best taco place. So Erin continues, "Well, it wasn't totally stress-free. After 5 years of living together, I thought we talked about everything we needed to talk about to have a life together: kids, finances, religious beliefs, etc. Turns out he didn't want me to hyphenate my last name. Literally, I went to write in the hyphenated name while getting my marriage license, and he was like, 'No, either keep your maiden name or take my name. You can't have it both ways.' So I called his bluff and kept my maiden name. For the first 2 years of our marriage, it bothered him enough that he paid for me to hyphenate my name." So
yeah.
I hope these two stories entertained you, even if you don't read them on the pod. But we did. I'm looking forward to your next episode. Great. I'm glad it's finally here.
It's this one.
I hope summer break is treating you well. We'll see. And then she also has a PS. She actually has a PS and then a follow-up email, all within a few moments. My favorite donut is a tie between an old-fashioned sour cream with a blueberry. Though
that's right, the donuts,
yeah, would be a sour cream blueberry with lemon custard. What?
Oh, I'm in.
That sounds awesome. I don't know.
Is there a place that has that?
I think Erin is just putting it out into the universe like The Secret and trying to get to manifest it into existence.
I'm down with that. Yeah,
it would be awesome. And Erin concludes, I forgot to mention, it's been 8 years of marriage and we're still going strong. So congratulations on 8 years, Erin, and your husband. We are happy to hear from you. Congratulations on 8 years. And I hope you
good luck with that donut.
Yeah. Hope you find the donut of your dreams and that your life is full of tacos. So, which is a great blessing that I read in the Bible one time. So, may you find the donut of your dreams and tacos without end.
Oh, write in and get your own personal blessing.
It's one of the many services I provide as a man of the cloth.
Yeah, personalized blessings. Why not? Donuts and tacos. What else? What else do you guys need?
I'm gonna start a Patreon. You want a blessing?
Wow. It's very, very, very Catholic churchy here, but hey.
Well, I'm positive I would lose my credentials if I just tried to start a Patreon to just get blessings.
I mean, they're not real. They're not real. Like, they would come with a certificate.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm making money off this Patreon. I'm mailing you stuff. I'm going to email.
Exactly.
I'm going to email you a certificate of blessing.
You print out. Make sure you have color ink because we don't do the black and white stuff here. This is high class.
It's got that little bear in the corner from when Jim made that certificate for Dwight. This is actually not a bad idea, but this I do like my idea. Job, so I should probably not do it.
Tell you what, not that everybody plug your ears. How about you write the blessings?
Okay,
and I will. And you send it to me, and then it'll come from me. Like I'll bless everybody.
Okay. So
then, because I don't have. Oh, sure, Paul, absolutely. No one's listening. It's all under the table.
Yeah, this is a great plan. We'll have to work this out later. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the main line here. What the bailout is all about. We cut to the Pawnee Video Dome, and we meet Dennis Lurpus, which is a great name, played by Jason Schwartzman. You may know Jason Schwartzman from Rushmore, which is the second Wes Anderson movie I ever saw, and it is awesome. Nice OR scrubs. Nice. No, I mess it up. Nice nurses uniform. They're OR scrubs. Oh, are they? I love that. That movie is awesome. So Pawnee has this video dome. It's like a art house rental that does screenings from time to time. And so today they're going to screen Stanley Kubrick's 1957 classic, Paths of Glory. Question for you, Jeremy. Have you seen this movie?
Mm-hmm. I have not.
Oh, it's so good.
Have you seen it? You've seen it.
Yeah. And it is July as we're recording this. And every July, Barnes & Noble has a 50% sale on Criterion Collection discs. And I got the email today and it said, hey, you can get any of these for 50% off. And wouldn't you know?
What's the Criterion Collection, Jason?
Well, the Criterion Collection is a ever expanding list of important or classic cinema from around the world. And some of the movies are really good, and some of them are very confusing, and none of them are explained as to why they're in the collection. They don't say why, they just choose. They write essays and do all kinds of different stuff for the packaging and the extra features and all that stuff. It's great. I love it. But some of the movies you watch it and you're like, I don't know why this isn't anybody's list of movies to care about. But here we are. But one of the email from Barnes & Noble, Paths of Glory, was like right there on the front page. And I was like, ooh, I just watched a show that was talking about this very movie. Do I need to get this? So I did not.
Somehow they know.
Somehow they know. But it is it's a great movie. I'd highly recommend it. And
make sure when you go to the Criterion website that you enter code Parks and Conversation for your 10% off.
Yeah.
Today's episode brought to you by the Criterion Collection.
Oh man, if we were sponsored by the
movies
Criterion
you didn't know you needed to watch,
that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
How do you get that? How do you get sponsored, listener? How do you get sponsored?
Just write in. Let us know.
So Dennis explains what the movie's about. It's about three men who refuse to go on a suicide mission and are executed for cowardice. And Leslie is kind of bummed by this. She's like, maybe we could screen a different one. Something like more upbeat, like Finding Nemo. And he responds, I could do Shoah. Now, Jeremy, what do you know about the movie Shoah?
I only know what IMDb told me, but it's a 566-minute long documentary about the victims of the Holocaust.
Yeah, so
I don't even know how many tapes that would be. Like 10 tapes.
You're getting a UPS truck full of cassettes to rent that. So Leslie suggested.
I think the Criterion Collection started with Shoah because it's just a collection of tapes. You're like, you know what? Let's just keep going.
Probably. Yeah. So you're getting. Here's the dynamic that is given. Leslie is saying, let's watch something more upbeat, like Finding Nemo, and Dennis says, I could watch Shoah.
Okay, Paths of Glory it is.
Like the hard conflict there between the two worldviews. So they are gonna watch Paths of Glory. Andy's there with her, and he's falling asleep like right away in this movie.
I
And
think does he have a beer?
It's a beer or maybe like one of those fruity sodas.
Okay.
So Leslie has a talking head talking about how this is an institution. It's where Perd happily shot his movie review show, Lights, Camera, Perd. And it cuts to him. And it's so great. He's like, it's a heartwarming story, but it's just not believable, which is why I give E.T. 1.5 stars. So it's just not believable.
It's so perfect. Yeah.
And so movie's over. Andy's asleep on Leslie, and she nudges him, and she's like, "Andy, it's over." And it looks like he leans in to try to give her a kiss, and he's like, he was like, "What are you doing? What's that? Where are we?" Have you ever fallen asleep in public, like at a Starbucks or a library or?
No. Have you?
Yes, many times. And
okay.
It is terrifying every time you wake up in a public place. And just like, it's kind of like in Moon Knight when Oscar Isaac's character changes and he's like, where am I? That's how you feel every time. And in my experience, you have a rush of adrenaline going through your body because you're like, how did I get here? And my hands
just wake up, just start fighting people.
Well, I start tingling all over. Like what did I do? It's scary, and so I can get why Andy is very confused. So Dennis tells like the reason I love that film is because it's really depressing. And speaking of which, next month Pawnee Video Dome will be closing its doors forever. And Leslie's like, no, you can't do that. So why don't we all rent something so we can help Dennis and buy some candy? And Morris, who is played by, I said Joe Mandy. He says, guys, why would we rent something when every movie we could watch is online for free? I'm watching Iron Man 2 right now. And Leslie's like, oh, I'm going to rent Finding Nemo. And Dennis says, well, we don't carry cartoons. But if you want to film about the ocean, we have a documentary about the brutality of Japan's whaling industry. It's called Tears of My Blowhole. And the way Jason Schwartzman acts it out, like from his eyes, and then points to his back, tears of my blowhole, is so perfect.
It's like an airline. It's like one of those the airline people who are like pointing to the exits, like down the center aisle to the side. Tears of my blowhole. It's nauseating.
And so then let's say like, well, I'll just buy some red vines, and you're like, we only have Japanese slime candy and Bulgarian wheat balls, which I don't even know what a Bulgarian wheat ball is. So it's not looking good for Dennis. And so they go back to the office, the park's office, and Leslie is trying to brainstorm some ideas on how to save the store. And she suggests listing the Videodome as a part of the Pawnee Historical Society record to declare it a landmark. There's a tax break, and Ron is there. He's like, that sounds like a government meddling in private enterprise. And so this creates a tension point between Ron and Leslie because Leslie is trying to save a business, and Ron does not want a bailout. And as Dennis is sitting right there, he points to him and says, this man is a failure. He is not up to snuff. His business is failing, and you're bailing it out. And so and I
love his face is just like, yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Dennis is like, yeah, we're failing.
I'm not going to argue.
Leslie thinks this is one of the few places where they do anything intellectual in town, and Ron says there are pretty intellectual conversations down at Barrett's Hardware. And so Leslie's like, we might get a little heat for this, but we need to get some more popular films that people want to see. And Dennis says, oh, like the Tarkovsky movies with the subtitles.
Because so many people know Russian.
Right. And Leslie says, no, like Pixar, Reese Witherspoon. I know it's going to hurt, but maybe some Michael Bay. And his face, Jason Schwartzman's face is so wounded. Like, don't make me go to that bad place.
Hey, there's Michael Bay. Said what?
You said this was going to be a safe place.
There's Michael Bay movies in the Criterion Collection.
There are, and they're his only good movies. It's The Rock and Armageddon. Awesome movies. Awesome movies. Never explained why they're in the Criterion Collection, but they're great. So then there's a council meeting where Leslie is working this out, and Andy is the first person giving a reason. He said the Pawnee Video Dome is where I rented my first Bruce Lee movie and my second Bruce Lee movie. And when I was in 7th grade, I went out back in the alley behind the store, and there was a giant hornet's nest, and I threw a rock at it and exploded, and hornets came out. The point is, obviously, you do not throw rocks at a hornet's nest.
That's the point, Andy. There you go.
And so Leslie's like, well, this is clearly a place with tremendous community value. And then Ron starts walking up, and he's like, any other comments before Ron? Are you okay? Are you lost? Are you hurt? And he's like, no, I'm here to express my opinion. And he points out that this is a veiled government bailout, and he doesn't want Leslie to turn this town into a socialist hellscape. And so he starts to explain how they shouldn't prop up failed businesses. And, it's like you're giving food to a mortally wounded animal instead of slitting its throat and properly utilizing its meat and pelt. Mm-hmm. And so he is pushing back, and Leslie's like, hey, we need a place where we can rent such films as Cinema Paradiso or Rashomon. And Ron's like, you rented Rashomon. And what's your favorite part? And have you seen Rashomon?
I haven't, no.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. So it's good.
All I know is on the cover, it has a giant person on it. So I think it's about giants.
No, not at all.
Oh,
not at all. It's a story it's a trial, and it's they're investigating from 4 different perspectives of what happened, and it's a great movie.
It's like a giant trial.
Yep, they're trying a giant, and so, and Leslie's like, I haven't seen it, but I like that there's the idea of the place where I could rent Rashomon. And then Morris shows up. You can just watch it online for free whenever you want. And Leslie calls the bailiff to get him out. And then she's like, Ron, your opinions are absurd. And are there any more comments before we vote? And then a bunch of people get up to talk, share their opinion. And so we hear from Gene Strackwell, owner of Strackwell Hardware, which is a different hardware place than the one that Ron goes to. And he's like, is there a form I need to fill out for the bailout? And because our building is older than their building, and people need a place to buy tools. And Morris, again, you can just buy tools online. So, and Leslie's like, how did you get back in here? And he's like, I'll just see myself out. And then another guy Joe from Sewage, this is his last appearance in the show, shows up, and he says, I heard you were giving out free money. I need $3,000 minimum. And Leslie's like, we're not going to give you a personal loan. It's like, what if somebody in your town was going to come to serious physical harm unless he got $3,000? I call the police. You cannot call the police. And then another guy, Wilson Gromling of the Liberty or Die Party, comes up, and he says, these handouts are deplorable. You're just handing out blank checks. I was on food stamps. I was on welfare, and nobody ever helped me.
Oh, boom.
Which is so amazing when we think about some of the arguments people make in the real world, because it's true. And so Leslie's like, this isn't a blank check. There's specific instructions for the video dome. And in a few days, Dennis will open. And then the guy says, yes, well, the Pawnee chapter of Liberty or Die has hit some pretty hard times. We were wondering if maybe we could get a town loan as well. So Leslie has opened a door that she did not want to open. People asking for money. So 3 days go by, and they go to the video dome as it's opening up, and Ron's already there. And he's like, Councilwoman, I came to see the effects of your government intervention, and I have to hand it to you. You really turned this place around. It's like, really? Yeah. And it's like, she comes in, and it's full of people. And Leslie is like, wow, this is amazing. You did it. I did it. This is me. Yes. And Ron's like, yes, it was. And Dennis says, I took your advice, got rid of all those foreign films, and used the money for the part of our business that's always done pretty well for us. Give the people what you want, right? And then it zooms out, and they like, oh, this is a porn shop now. And I was like, you've made the city porn peddlers. And then Brandy Max shows up, who is the town porn star. And so she's like, let's give Leslie a big hand for keeping this store in business. And Leslie's like, no, please, no hands for me. This is not what I wanted at all. And Brandy says, you've always been a huge supporter of my work. Leslie's like, no, I haven't.
No.
So they already made a porn version of this whole story about the government bailout. Like this all stuff is happening quickly. And Brandy is like, the porn industry in this town was faltering, but now we're back. You're our hero, Leslie. It's all bad. And so Leslie realizes that this is not a great deal. And so she, her and Ron go and get lunch or meal of some sort. And Ron orders the number 8, and the server says, that's a party platter. It serves 12 people. And Ron's response is one of my favorite things to say when anybody questions me. I know what I'm about, son.
I know what I'm about, son.
And so Leslie, go ahead. Tell me I did it all wrong. And Leslie, Ron is like, listen, capitalism is the way. It moves our country forward. So it makes America great, England okay, and France terrible. Leslie and Ron don't disagree on capitalism and competition. And Leslie's like, I'm more competitive than you are. And Ron's like, I don't think so. Settle down. I already paid up for all the meals, so I won. And she's like, I just want to create places that add value to the community that don't necessarily rake in money. And Ron's like, that's not a thing. The free market is a jungle, and it needs to be left alone. And so businesses fail, new ones come in. The server comes over with the meals, and it is a party platter of deli meats. and Ron's like, all right, party time. And Leslie says, you should stay and watch him eat it. It only takes 4 minutes, and it's pretty amazing.
And then he takes the garnishes off and says, these will not be necessary.
Yeah. Just puts them in his hands.
Get these vegetables away from me.
Yeah. And so Anne, so that's kind of bringing some resolution here. Leslie wants to do a thing for the community that's not going to make money. So what ends up happening is she's starting a movie night at the community center, where they're going to watch movies and bring people together. And so everybody's there coming together. Anne and April meet up, and Anne wrote that letter for April, so she doesn't have to pretend to be friends anymore. And April is relieved. But Anne said, look, I really had fun hanging out with you, and I don't care what you say. You're my friend, and hope you get into veterinary school because I like you. So there. And April got Anne a baby naming book, because she's like, I hope something works out for you, even if it doesn't work out with Chris. And then they hug, and April feels like she's going to die. And then we see Mona Lisa and Tom coming in, and Mona Lisa is immediately inappropriate. And Tom says, look, you can't be checking out other guys if we're together. That's the deal. And Mona Lisa's like, wow, okay, laying down the law, a little feisty. I'm going to get a soda, and how about we go hook up someplace afterwards? And Tom's like, sure. And Chris is like, wow. So that's continuing. And Tom's like, she's terrible, but I'm trying to help her be less terrible. Small victories. And Chris then realizes, it's the small victories. And that's part
because of what Jerry said.
Yeah, because of Jerry's wisdom, which is not a sentence, you get a lot. And so, Chris is realizing, like, all right, I don't have to get it all right perfectly 100% of the time, every time. And so then he goes over to talk to Anne, and tells her that he's in. They're going to have a baby together, and then they're very excited. And he says, well, I guess your uter you and my uter me are now our uterus, which is absolutely terrible.
Don't make me rethink this.
So that is, so that's going to happen, and that we're working down that path. And then Leslie gets up and introduces everybody. Sadly, she says, we're all sad and deeply grossed out that the Pawnee Video Dome is turning into a porno palace. I'm happy to announce that the Pawnee government will be hosting a weekly movie night here at the community center. There'll be screenings followed by discussion led by film buff Dennis Lurpus. And everybody is like tense now because it's like, oh, we know Dennis. And tonight's film is The Sound of Music, and everybody is happy.
Yay!
And then it cuts to the movie, but it turns out the movie is accidentally the porn version of the government bailout. And it's not Ron Swanson, it's Dong Swanson. So it's so bad. So I'm a strict libertarian.
Shut it down.
And Leslie's last words are, "That's not how it happened." So yeah, pretty great episode all around, I feel. It was a fun one. So yeah, any other thoughts or impressions on this, or trivia that you discovered, Jeremy?
I mean, nothing like amazingly shocking, but yeah, no, I thought it was really funny. I got an 8.1 on IMDb for whatever that's worth, and yeah, it feels about right. I love that they used a video store as like you said, this satire on government bailouts. So yeah, it was a fun episode. I love Jason Schwartzman. I wish we could have had a little bit more Jason Schwartzman in it. He was very in the background of this whole thing, but it was a fun episode. We got to see a little bit of everybody. I love Jerry's part. I thought that was hilarious with his little speech. How about you?
Yeah, so good. I love Joe Mandy, and his his delivery is just so great. Like, why would you do that? You can get everything online for free. I'm doing it right now.
Basically, it's like everything you guys are going through right now is pointless because the internet is here. Like, none of this matters. None of it.
Yeah. So it is it's a good episode. It's super fun. Listener, we'd love to hear about your blockbuster video update, Hollywood Video, whatever your local video rental experiences were. Like, I'd love to hear about like the movie that you found as you were wandering the aisles, and you're like, I guess I'll watch this, and you loved it. Those chance even film encounters.
Yeah. Even the Redbox, like the Redbox video dispenser machine. I'll get there. And they had some really terrible, awful movies too that were in there. We're just like, hey, you know what? Let's take a shot. Let's see what this. I wish they just had a random button on there too. That'd be fun.
Yeah, one of my mentors, his name is Len. He has a random principle for his life. So when he goes on a plane, he goes to the Hudson News, and he just buys 3 random magazines. Like, so he might get on the plane with Guns and Ammo, Better Homes and Gardens, and Time, right? Like, it's like, this is what I'm reading on the plane. And when he goes to the movie theater, he just says, whatever is playing next, give me tickets for that.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's like, he saw some movie that's so terrible. He's like, I saw that movie 3 times.
You might want to rethink give me the next movie except for this one. Like, put some addendums on there.
Yeah. So, so random things can be awesome, but also, can be kind of lame. But we'd love to hear from you about your video experiences. Like, what was your memories of renting videos on a Friday night, or that kind of stuff. So send us an email, parksandconversation@gmail.com. And listener, if you got this far in this episode, you win this episode. And we will probably just have to stop here. How's that sound, Jeremy?
Oh, that sounds great. Next week, Partridge. They go back to Ben's. No. Oh, did you stop it already?
No, I have to let the listener know I'm going to be out of town. So we're going to, this is one of those weeks that will be kind of.
I'll do it myself. It'll just be me.
Okay. That'll be great.
I like how you're like, what would that actually sound like?
Yeah.
I'm going to do both parts.
Okay. That'll be fantastic. So,
all right,
listener, try to find an episode next week.
Oh, dang it. How do you upload it? I don't shoot. Where do you put the keys? Are they?
Yeah, I'll list. I'll put them all. I'll write out a thing, and
will
I'll
you
leave it by the TV.
Yeah, leave it. We leave your computer under a rock in the backyard. So
Absolutely.
I can do this. All right. Well, have a safe trip because you're out of town, and yeah, we'll see the internet later.
Yeah, we'll be back. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.